Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're tackling something wild and a bit brain-twisting. What if everything you know, your memories, thoughts, and very existence just popped into being out of nowhere? Sounds crazy, right? This idea is at the heart of what's known as the Boltzmann Brain Paradox. So, where does this all come from? It starts with a guy named Ludwig Boltzmann. He was a physicist who worked on understanding entropy. That's the measure of disorder or randomness in a system. Boltzmann suggested that the universe's current state might just be a rare fluctuation from a state of maximum disorder. And here's where it gets interesting. According to this idea, it might be more likely for a single self-aware brain, what we call a Boltzmann brain, to randomly form in a high-entropy universe than for our entire universe to form the way it did. In today's video, we're going to break down what the Boltzmann Brain Paradox is all about, why it's got scientists and philosophers scratching their heads, and what it means for our understanding of reality. Stick around, because this is going to be a fascinating journey. To really get the Boltzmann Brain Paradox, we need to start with the man himself, Ludwig Boltzmann. Boltzmann was an Austrian physicist working in the late 19th century. He made huge contributions to the field of thermodynamics, which is all about heat, energy, and how they move and change. One of Boltzmann's big ideas was about entropy. Entropy is a measure of disorder or randomness. Think of it like this. If you have a deck of cards all neatly arranged by suit and number, that's low entropy. If you shuffle them up into a random mess, that's high entropy. The second law of thermodynamics says that in an isolated system, entropy tends to increase over time. Things naturally go from order to disorder. Boltzmann took this idea and applied it to the entire universe. He suggested that the universe, over incredibly long timescales, would mostly be in a state of maximum entropy, total disorder. But, he thought, now and then, there could be a tiny, random fluctuation that creates a bit of order out of the chaos, and that's how we might get our current universe with all its stars, planets, and life. Now, here's the kicker. According to Boltzmann's thinking, it might be even more likely for these random fluctuations to create something much smaller and simpler than a whole universe, like a single, self-aware brain floating in space. And that's the basis of the Boltzmann Brain Paradox. So, Boltzmann's work on entropy and these rare fluctuations set the stage for this weird and fascinating idea. All right, now that we know a bit about Boltzmann and entropy, let's talk about the Boltzmann Brain Concept itself. So, the idea here is pretty wild. In a universe that's mostly in a state of maximum disorder, or high entropy, you can have random fluctuations that create pockets of order. Most of the time, these fluctuations would be tiny, but every now and then, they might be big enough to create something like a brain. This brain would be fully formed with thoughts, memories, and a sense of self, just like yours or mine. But it would exist all by itself in the middle of the chaos. Here's where it gets interesting. If you think about it, it's more likely for a single brain to form out of these random fluctuations than for an entire, complex universe like ours to form. Imagine rolling dice repeatedly. Getting a specific number once is way easier than getting that number 10 times in a row, right? The same logic applies here. It takes fewer random rolls of the dice to create a Boltzmann brain than to create an entire universe. This leads to a strange thought. If it's more likely for a Boltzmann brain to pop into existence than an entire universe, how do we know we aren't just Boltzmann brains ourselves? It's a mind-boggling idea, but it's something that scientists and philosophers seriously consider. So, the Boltzmann Brain Concept challenges our understanding of reality and our place in the universe. It asks us to think about the nature of existence in a whole new way. But before we get too deep into the philosophical side of things, let's look at some of the criticisms and counterarguments to this paradox. So, if the Boltzmann Brain Paradox is true, it brings up some big questions. First off, if it's more likely for a Boltzmann brain to randomly pop into existence than for our whole universe to form, then how do we know we're not just Boltzmann brains ourselves? It's a bit unsettling to think that everything we know, our memories, our experiences, could be just a random fluctuation and not real at all. If we're Boltzmann brains, it means that the universe as we perceive it might not exist outside of our own consciousness. We could be alone, with our thoughts and memories being nothing more than a temporary illusion. This idea challenges our basic understanding of reality. It's kind of like waking up from a dream and realizing that everything you thought was real isn't. Another big implication is for science and cosmology. If Boltzmann brains are more probable than entire universes, it could mean that our current theories about the universe and its origins might need a serious rethink. Scientists might have to consider new models of the universe that account for these random fluctuations in a different way. And then there's the philosophical side. The Boltzmann Brain Paradox makes us question the nature of consciousness and what it means to be real. Are our experiences and perceptions reliable, or could they all just be products of random chance? It's a deep and sometimes troubling question that has no easy answers. But even though these implications can seem a bit heavy, they're also fascinating. They push us to think more deeply about who we are and our place in the universe, and maybe by grappling with these big questions, we can get closer to understanding the true nature of reality. All right. So the Boltzmann Brain Paradox is definitely an interesting idea, but not everyone agrees with it. In fact, there are some strong counterarguments and criticisms out there. First off, many scientists argue that our understanding of the universe has moved beyond Boltzmann's ideas. Modern cosmology and quantum mechanics offer different explanations for the universe's structure and origins. For example, the Big Bang theory, supported by lots of observational evidence, describes how the universe expanded from an extremely hot and dense state. This model doesn't rely on random fluctuations creating order out of chaos. Another major criticism is about probability. Critics say that while it's true that a single Boltzmann brain might be simpler to form than an entire universe, it doesn't necessarily mean they're more likely to occur. The conditions needed to create a Boltzmann brain are extremely specific and rare, and some argue that our observations of the universe don't support the idea that such brains are popping into existence all the time. There's also the issue of self-consistency. If we were Boltzmann brains, our memories and experiences would be random and unreliable. But the fact that we can make consistent observations about the universe and build coherent scientific theories suggests that our experiences are based on a real, stable universe, not random fluctuations. Finally, some philosophers argue that the Boltzmann Brain Paradox might be more of a thought experiment than a serious scientific hypothesis. It's a way to explore the limits of our understanding and the assumptions we make about reality, but not necessarily a reflection of how things are. So, while the Boltzmann Brain Paradox raises some fascinating questions, there are plenty of reasons to be skeptical. It's one piece of a much larger puzzle as we try to understand the universe and our place in it. So, there you have it. the Boltzmann Brain Paradox. It's a wild idea that challenges our understanding of the universe and our place in it. While it's intriguing to think about, there are plenty of reasons to question it, from the solid evidence supporting the Big Bang theory to the practicalities of how we observe and understand the world around us. We've covered a lot today, from the basics of entropy and Boltzmann's work to the concept of Boltzmann brains and what it all means for science and philosophy. It's a reminder that the universe is full of mysteries and that asking big questions can lead to some pretty deep discussions. What do you think? Could we all just be Boltzmann brains? Or is there a simpler explanation for our universe? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss any of our future explorations into the mysteries of the universe. See you next time.